Saturday morning. We have with us Ms. Amrita, who is actually an alumni of Cochin University, and she will take you through her journey. She currently works in SAP, and she'll take you through her journey from CUSAT till SAP. So over to you, Amrita. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, my Chichi. So let me just start. Okay, so how does this look? Okay, so hi everyone. Good morning to all of you. So first of all, thank you for joining so early in the morning on a Saturday. I know my Chichi was calling up everyone, asking them to join. But thank you. I hope you get some good takeaways from this session. So first, let's start with an introduction. Let me first introduce myself. As my Chichi mentioned, Amrita, right? I was working. I mean, I was a student in Cochin University, passed out in 2004 from computer science BTech, and I got a campus placement from college itself, and I joined Siemens soon after. That's my first company. Was there for close to 2 years, 2.5 years, and then I shifted jobs, moved to a company called Business Objects, and that was a smaller company in terms, and that was soon acquired by SAP. So it was again back to a German company there. So that was acquired by SAP, and then I became an SAP employee and been there ever since. So that's been my journey in a very nutshell. I'll explain more through the presentation, but uh, would like to know more about people who have joined in. So just as a quick poll, right? So my Chichi, there's a link. It's already there in the chat. So if all of you can log in there.
Guys, I just put it in chat, so kindly log in. Thank you. For those who have just joined, I'm just putting a Mentimeter survey in chat. Kindly fill it up. Thank you.
Okay, so you can see the results as well. Great, we have quite a lot of people from different branches, but computer science, IT mainly. Okay, artificial intelligence, it's a new branch, I guess. Wow.
For those who have just joined in, I have put in the survey in chat. Kindly, there's a poll there, so kindly log in and put in your responses. Thank you.
So this is just and let's keep this informal. Any questions, please talk about it. You can paste in the chat as well. We can talk about that. So this is just to get an idea that what all people joining, what they could be expecting from me. So mine is a computer science background, but we'll try to touch upon the common points that others could also expect. Okay, so we have 9 responses so far. Any more? Okay. Shall we move on to the next question? Okay, so people are still voting, I see. Okay, okay, anyway, let's move on. So this is the final one here. Voting. Okay, so Let me see how engaged and attentive you guys are going to be today. So, people sleeping before 10 p.m. on a Friday night.
That is me. I think I'm the only one. Don't count that.
I knew
I
there would
don't
be
think
more.
students sleep before 10 anyway. I sleep every night before 10. So yeah.
Yeah, you were always like that. I know. So I knew there would be one person.
Even as a student, right? So
Yes,
when I tell my students, they cannot believe it. So guys, here it
yes,
is. So
yes.
you get you get from some original information. It's authentic. Yes, I
Yes.
used to even in hostels. Yes,
Even in
that's right.
hostel, my chichi and her roommates know that. Okay, yes, don't disturb after that.
All right. So I'm going to sleep in this session, huh? Nice, nice option.
I
What
assume
do you
anyone who has slept later than one is going to sleep in this session. So I guess they didn't join anyway, so it's good.
Sure.
Okay, good. So just some fun today before we start. Any more votes? So otherwise, let's go on then. Okay. Okay. So let's start then. Today, I hope to share with you, what I do in my career currently in my job as an engineering manager, and I also want to share with you my journey, how I reached here, right from since I passed out of Cochin University, what all I've been doing, how did I reach here, what did I learn along the way, and then some advice for people who want to take up this role. So let's start. So first thing, engineering manager. So what do I manage, right? What is the management part of this here? So first thing, most importantly, for an engineering manager is the team. I have a team of 9 people, and it's my responsibility to ensure that a team is able to work together, work as one unit, right, and deliver on their goals or on the project, right? So there are books, lots of books written on how to manage teams, how to get this thing done, right? So that it comes, some of it comes with experience, some of you learn, right? So we'll not go into details there, but this is the major thing there. And it's involves, so when you say about team, right, it's not just one individual person. We should make sure that everyone together is able to contribute and work together. So that's the main thing, that my responsibilities. So with the team, like I mentioned, the team has to, of course, deliver to some goals will be for the team, right? So there will be, we work on a project, right? The project has certain goals, what we need to achieve in the quarter, what we need to achieve in a year, right? So it's my job to ensure we deliver things on time with quality. And if people are not there, how to get the right resources for the people, for the project, how to get people to be skilled enough, train them, right? So that they're able to deliver effectively on the project, whatever is required, right? So making sure people know what is needed for this. And again, if there are going to be slippages, right, things, it's normal sometimes. So if there are slippages, communicating that properly, making sure people are aware, right? So that's all part of the project management that I have to do. And there are some things that I need to do usually daily, sometimes firefighting, right? If some customer is not happy, they didn't get things on time, there will be escalations always. Big companies especially, right, there will be always a board escalation that's happening. So you need to manage that and make sure things are going smoothly across this all fronts. And another important thing daily that I need to manage is communication. So communication with different people, right? So again, with the team, I we run a scrum team. So we have daily stand up. I don't know if you have already started learning about agile software engineering and those processes, but one of the main things of that is to have a daily stand up meeting. So we have that, we understand what people are doing, if they are blocked, and help them out with that. So that is one aspect of the communication. But there's also communication on the project to the my manager, my senior management, right? Where are we, what's our progress, how will we deliver on time, right? That is another kind of communication. Communication to other teams who depend on us, or communication to teams whom we are dependent on, make sure that they are going to deliver to us on time. And other than this, there is also, every company will have some values. They have a mission and a vision, right? So as a manager, it's my responsibility to ensure that I communicate these um, principles also to the team, that, and they are aware of that, and everything they do, right, the way they work is always should be aligned with those principles. So uh, so again, communication is not just, about talking well. It's about making sure these aspects are covered. Uh, you know what needs to be communicated, right? And you're able to get that point across. So being able to talk well is good, but it's not the end of learning communication properly. And one of the other major things that I have to take care, is planning for the future. So this again is a range of topics, right? Something that actually comes under the head of strategy, that I've just simplified and put here as planning for the future. Um, so we will have, like I said, there are goals that immediately the team knows what they need to do, but we also need to know after that what next, right? So when the team is currently working on something, I also need to be aware of what's going to be the next thing that the team needs to be thinking about, working on, and build for that, so that when the time comes, we are ready for that, right? So ready in terms of skills, maybe the resources, and making sure all the other things are done. So all the usual planning that we do, right, this involves here as well. And this and to plan for the future, it's not something I can take decisions alone. So it will involve getting guidance from senior managers, product managers, and from the market. There will be people who analyze that and give us inputs. So all these inputs have to be taken, and then we decide what is the next thing we work on, what is after that, and make sure everything is aligned, right? Again, if those future deliverables depend on other people, will they be delivering to us on time? So there are all these juggling that I need to do usually on a day-to-day basis. So this is a very high level look into what I usually manage on a day-to-day. So with that, I also want to cover one point, what I don't do. Okay, and there are also some common myths about how a manager behaves, or what they do. So let's talk about that. So one thing, is micromanagement. Generally, when they say micromanagement, it's when people come up to you and ask you, oh, what did you do? Have you done this? Have you done this part? So small things as well, right? Have you sent the mail? Is it written correctly? So that is what usually we talk about as micromanagement. And nobody likes to be micromanaged. And I don't like to do that either. I have a lot of other work of my own to do. So usually don't get into micromanage, unless it's the end of the cycle and I get nervous and tensed, and suddenly my it's going to change, and I'll be like, okay, is this done, is this done? But we try to avoid that. And generally the trends now in leadership and management also is that it's not a good thing to uh, be behind people regularly. They know what needs to be done, they will do it, and if they are blocked, it's our responsibility to unblock them and just keep an eye that things are progressing properly. But really following up day to day, each hour, what's being done is not good. So even though I say that, there are certain industries, right, or certain areas, even in software, if you're working in a service-based company, for example, where you may need to account for every hour. But that's usually for a different reason. Like in service companies, they sell their services to other companies. So, and the customers bill you for each hour you are working for them. So in such models, you have to account like how many hours you've actually worked for the customer. They will ask for those timesheets and proof. So you will at that time, that is usually when you need to do these kind of hour by hour reporting or accounting. But otherwise, like I work in product development, so there it's pretty cool on those aspects, and it's the more on you ensure the quality and product is delivered in a proper way. So another thing I don't do is admin tasks. There are cases I need to do, but I really don't like doing that. So I try to avoid as much as possible by either delegating to others who are interested in such work, right? Or finishing it up quickly and figuring out ways to do these things in the time of day when I'm least involved with other activities. Admin tasks involve, arranging things for the team, like laptops or those things. Some things I push back also, it's individual's responsibility. Manager doesn't have to do everything, right? Most of the thing I expect that person will take care and help them out if they are blocked. And again, so other admin tasks could be like, seating or resources, hiring. These are other things that we do, which I don't like, but I do. Okay. And another one common myth, or at least something that I used to believe when I joined first as a fresher into a software company: managers have all the answers. We look up to them, believe everything they say, and follow it to the T. So just want to take that off. It's not like that. They don't have all the answers. They they may have reached the position of a manager because they are more experienced than others in the team at that point. But learn from them and work with them for the manager goals, the team's goals. And if you feel that, okay, there is a better way of doing things, I'm sure people are open to suggestions. So uh, feel free to do that and take it as a way of working together, right? Like I mentioned, the team and the goals are more important. So you don't have to think that the manager is always right. Okay, so that was what I wanted to talk about on what I do on a day-to-day basis. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. I have one query. Ma'am, this query is regarding the hiring part. Like, what the role of like hiring manager round in an interview? Like, like is the like deciding factor in a major interview? Like back one
Yes. So the,
act two is fine, but hiring my yeah.
yes, definitely it is.
So in hiring manager round, like what are the like key points like
Mhm. Okay, so I will.
like any product might be judged. So
Sure.
can you just figure it out?
Yeah. So I will give you again what I look for when I go for interviews. So usually when you go to the hiring manager round, you've already completed the technical interviews, right? So there are certain managers who do technical interviews as well. They ask questions on it just to be sure that the person is at their level. So it can depend. So what the manager is looking for is whether you are a good fit for the team. Okay. So there are people who might do technical interviews. I personally don't do. I assume that you have completed technical rounds, so you are technically capable, and that's why you have come for the hiring manager round. So I usually look for more of behavioral aspects, right? How if I feel the person will learn, I usually ask questions like what any low points in your life and what did you learn from them, right? And also how do you work. I try to figure out if the person would work well in a team. So that is important for me. So because like I said, right, for me it's the person who's coming into the team should gel well, should be able to learn from their seniors and contribute to the overall team goals. So I will look for those aspects more. So but again, it depends from manager to manager what they are looking for. So certain people feel the technical skills are more important and they may want to again question on that as well. So you could get those kind of questions also, especially if the feedback has come from the technical round. There may be sometimes people are not fully confident there, so they might suggest that this person is good, but needs to be probed a bit more. They might get some feedback like that. So in that case, you might again get questions in the hiring manager round so that they are more confident there. And definitely it's a deciding factor. Every level in the interview round is important. So the hiring manager, like I said, that hiring manager is recruiting you to their team. So definitely if they are not confident, they will prefer to look for a better candidate. So it is important that you can convince the person what they're looking for. And it's always also you can ask questions like what are they looking for. I know again, like people, when I was like that, I never asked questions to the person, right, when I went for interviews on what are you looking for. But I think nowadays you can do that towards the end of the interview, ask them what they're looking for and try to understand a bit more. That will also show them that you are interested in the role. Okay. Hope that helps.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then I will move on. So now let's talk about my journey. How did I, right? After I passed out of Cochin University. So that time the team I worked in was working in C++, and I had also gotten because of C++ questions and interviews and things like that. And on the way, I had also learned Java, and somehow in my project that time there were some front end pieces in JavaScript and Java, so picked up that also along the way. I was working in the healthcare domain. So one thing I want to highlight, that software again is very much dependent on the domain you're working on, right? So there are many aspects that change from domain to domain. So usually some people, once they get into a domain, if they like it, they continue in that area itself. And so the healthcare domain, one major thing there I would want to highlight was that they're very it's the a domain where people have to be very careful, right, in terms of the quality of the product, because it's finally going to affect a person's life, right? So there are a lot of regulations around kind of software, on healthcare software, especially our market was the US. So US healthcare software has a lot of regulations on how patient records have to be maintained, how they should be displayed, and accuracy and all these things, right? It's very important. Performance is very important. So in my first job, I also learned in those first few years, right, the importance of quality. Okay, and why it's important for in terms of the healthcare domain and overall as software developer also. um, Another thing, again, you start learning is development processes in enterprise software. So till then, I know software engineering, at least in my case, it was this really huge book. Somehow we managed to read that through and pass the exam. So, and I still feel that this is something learned practically rather than learning from a book. So those processes, you only realize the importance once you go through the pain of having to fix bugs at 1 o'clock in the night, and you realize, oh, I should have taken care of these things before and tested things better in the first itself. So these are things you learn, and or I learned in the first few years of my career. So moved on, and as I mentioned, to few years later, I moved to a different job. It was business objects. So here, actually, like I mentioned, I went for more for technology. I was interested, like I saw my colleagues in who joined along with me in Siemens. They were working on a different area, different project, and it was mainly backend. And I was always very jealous of them. Oh wow, they are doing all the great work. I'm just doing front end UI work and things like that. So somehow it was always there in the back of my mind. So I purposely, interviews I took again C++, and I said only C++. I actually said I didn't know Java, and went into this role. And I got into an analytics company, Business Objects. And so analytics domain is different from healthcare. So the regulations wise, there are no government regulations as such. But here we are reporting, right? It's mainly analytics is used by companies to report on their financials, on progress, on the HR states, things like that. So their numbers, data is very important. The accuracy of the data is important. And even, you start to figure out things like, oh, this data in this time zone, this user is logging from this time zone, he's seeing this number. But when he logs in from a different time zone, it's a different value that they're seeing in euros, they see in different dollars, but they expect something else. So the data and how you represent it, that becomes very important there. Okay, so like I said, I was initially working on different analytics products in business objects on the back end. But 1 year or so later, and a team opened up and they had to work on the front end, and they were looking for people to fill that quickly. So I was moved into that team. And it so happened that again, I started working in Java and the front end and side itself. So somehow that, again, I was more into front end development. Eclipse RCP was a Java software for uh, desktop applications at that time. So I was learning on that and improving on that. I become a subject matter expert kind of on that area. So another thing I also want to highlight in this time, what I was doing, I took up MS in information systems, the distance learning MS program from BITS Pilani. So the reason I went for that was, first of all, I was too lazy to write the MTech, and I wasn't sure if I would even get through the gate. And somehow idea of going back and studying for an entrance was not appealing to me. I was also married by then, and I thought, okay, working along with and studying together, that seemed more appealing at that time. So that was, and Siemens had a tie-up with BITS, so I could do both together. And then when I moved to SAP, also they had the same tie-up as well, so it was easy for me that way. So I did that MS in information systems, and it was really useful also for me, because many of the newer things like data warehousing, predictive analytics, those are things I learned there. And it so happened that I find in future products that I worked on, those aspects also were there. So it was important, and it keeps you in touch. It kept me in touch back of what's happening also in the technology front, right? Sometimes when you start working in a company, it's not sometimes, it's always, when you start working, you get focused on your day-to-day work and in and around that product, that area. So when you do this in parallel, right, you again broaden your horizons of what else is happening in the technology front. Okay, so that was, then my journey to the next level was in okay, 2010. I moved into a, around 2 years later, you can say, right, the senior developer role. So as a senior developer, usually you're given more um, responsibilities, right? And you get ownership of features or modules. Now you're responsible that if there are bugs, customer defects that come up, it's that gets assigned to you. You have to make sure to deliver on those, right? And that's the more responsibilities start getting assigned to you. And that is also, where you start learning soft skills. Again, communication basics start, right, on communicating to a customer, communicating on the bugs, reporting correctly on that. And I also learned timeliness, right, that I need to deliver things on time, only then the things happen properly. So what I need to make sure that it's done on time, and how I can learn the basics, right, of time management, I think started at this point. Again, being reliable, so your manager or people in your team depend on you to deliver things, so that overall team can meet the goals, right? So you need to be reliable and accountable for your work. So these are the some of the things I learned at this point. Here. Okay, so in 2016 I gradually moved towards a technical lead role. So it's not very well defined in our company, at least, like, senior developer, technical lead. It's just a gradual progression. So at that point, but what also happened was that I became responsible for a group of people's deliverables. It's not me alone who is working on that feature or that project. It's usually a bigger feature where 2-3 people might be involved, and I have to ensure that other people in the team are also delivering on time and helping them to deliver on time with quality, making them aware of all the processes that are there in the team, right? So those were the things that my responsibilities increased to. And also, happy news, this was again, I got chance to work on the back end, right? So I got learned more on the analytics core functionalities, how things are happening in the core development on analytics side, how those calculations happen. Basically, analytics is finally all mathematical calculations. So how is it done, right, in the backend, in the DB? So learned those kind of things there. And soft skills, again, technical lead is actually a very tough position. If you ask me, it was because it's, you're like in between hell and heaven. You are not a manager, so not considered separately, but you have to get things done, and you really don't have the authority from the company as such to uh, get things, make people do it, right? So you have to learn how to influence them and how to work with people, again, guide them to get the results you want. And it's more tougher, and if people don't do, you will have to, since you are responsible, you have to finally go in and do the work yourself sometimes. And other than that, again, project management, learned the basics from here, right? How to estimate things, how to make sure that we meet those estimates, or estimate at least as reasonably close by figuring out all the problems earlier, to that level of an engineering manager. So, but this is, again, I think, applicable for any role. It's not just a management role. Even as an individual contributor, if you want to become an architect, these things will still apply, like building relationships and observing people. So and another thing in the software industry right now, it's very fluid. Once you get into management, it doesn't have to be that you're always going to be a manager. I know a lot of people who became managers, senior managers, and then they moved into an individual contributor role as well as an architect or product um, deliverables. So, and the same vice versa, right? Someone who was architect for many years, and then suddenly you see that they've been announced as the new senior manager for a group. So it's flexible. It's more of skills you learn, you pick up. It will always be useful as you grow up in your career, right? Whatever you pick up through the way, and learning skills on each technical skills as well as people skills are always a good bet. Okay.
Thank you, Amrita. Thank you for that. Anybody, any questions?
Not done.
Sorry.
So because I added one more bit of advice, my Gigi, after we talked yesterday. No problem. So this is not related to the job. Okay. These are just some life skills I learned while reading some books. And I thought, why didn't I learn this before? Okay. So here, just 3 recommendations from me. So the first one is Smart Women Finish Rich. Are you able to see that? Okay. So don't worry, guys, it's not only for women, it's for all. Okay. It talks about financial literacy, which is something really missing in our education somehow, right? And then you get your first salary, and then you will find people always advising you, take an insurance, do this, invest here, do this, right? So, and you just blindly follow people, right? But read this book or anything by this author, right? He's very talks from the basics of managing your money, what are all the different investments options available, right? And why you need to save, why you need to save for the future, what kind of goals you need to figure out, right? It's a big topic, so read the book, I would suggest, right? And it was really helpful for me. Okay. So the next one is a very common one, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Right. Again, this is step by step. It tells you, for personal development, what all are the important things you need to focus on. Um, Even if you don't want to follow it, I would still say read it at least once. Learn those habits, at least to talk about it. And if you get an interview question on which is your favorite book, talk about this. So you'd impress people at least that way, So at least give it a thought and try it out. The last one is actually a blog. Yeah, it's from Katie Bowman. So this is again something, I much later, after having kids and all, back pain, this, that, all that starts, I started researching on the internet on this, and I came across this lady and her blogs, and I found it really useful for me. Again, I was wondering, oh, why didn't we learn about all this earlier? So this is just a picture of some of the how to bend, right? We somehow usually bend in a wrong way and without stretching the right muscles. So go through those videos, focus on your health, also along your career as well. Don't do only one aspect, focus on your health also from the beginning itself. So this is my suggestion for that. And yeah, so that's it from me then.
Thank you so much. Loved your recommendations, by the way. Thank you. I have not read a single book or the blog, but I'll see if I can do it. Guys, any questions? Please, you can unmute yourself or put in chat. Any questions you have?
Ma'am, I have one question, like how to get the people skills, ma'am. Like it's quite hard for software developers to get the people skills. Like we were continuously focusing on screens, so like it's quite hard to get to communicate out, like outside and all. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. So even I was like that, right? And I'm still more of an introvert. And so people skills, again, don't link it with being extrovert or talking a lot and things like that. People skills are more about being able to connect with people, right? And you can do it one on one. So that's why also I said, right, observe people and find people whom you can relate to, right, and talk to them. You will have to take the first step for sure, right? Reaching out to people, don't wait for them to come to you. That is something you will have to start, uh, reaching out to people, talking to people. But it need not be that you have to be a good presenter or be able to be the life of a party and only then you have people skills. No, people skills are more about being able to build relationships with people. And like I said, I hope I answered, but yeah, those observing people and trying to build one-on-one relationships will also go a long way to developing it overall.
Um, Amrita, there's another question. Why did you choose engineer manager over technical architect?
Okay, that's a good one. So I didn't choose engineer manager over technical architect. So if you see my career also, right, 2016 I became a technical lead. Initially I did want to become an architect, and there were actually quite a few architects already in my team at that point, right? But I still kept holding out for a role there. And then, but after a few years, I started getting a little restless. I was not I was getting bored with my current role as well. I was not seeing any other opportunities. And so when an engineering manager opportunity came up, and I felt I did have the maturity at that point to do the role, I took that up. So as I said, I still feel that in future there could be other chances, to go back to becoming an architect. Somewhere it might come up and I might for that as well. I don't say that I'm only going to be a manager all my life.
Any more questions, guys? All right. So thank you so much, Amrita. Thank you for that insight and the special recommendations as well. I think it's necessary that managerial role will come after some time for them because they're freshers, but at least they'll get an insight now rather than them getting an insight 10 years down the line. So hopefully you had a good insight, guys, and thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Amrita. Thank you for your time. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining in on Sunday. Next week, we have why take consulting as a job option. So that's next week. So see you next week. Thank you. Have a beautiful weekend. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. All the best, everyone.